Birds that migrate long distances are actually in decline. They've been declining for a long time in Canada because they face threats here in PEI from development, agriculture, road development, but they also face those threats all along their migration route and on their wintering grounds. So they are facing these threats across their whole range. So it's not just here in PEI. It makes it really important that we do protect their breeding sites here in PEI so that we know that they are safe here because we can't control what happens along their migration route and on the wintering grounds. Through my research, I really found that forested wetlands are really important for forest bird communities. They are hotspots for species at risk. So it's not just Canada warbler that use them, but olive-sided flycatcher, rusty blackbird. There are species at risk lichens that are found in forested wetlands. So they're hotspots for species at risk, but also biodiversity. They were often overlooked when land was being cleared for agriculture or for forestry. And so they've been sort of left, and they still have a seed bank intact. So they're often really diverse bird communities, but also really diverse plant communities as well. So they're really special places on the island landscape. So Canada warblers use every part of the forested wetland. They arrive in the spring and they set up their nest. They nest on or near the ground, so often on old decaying logs that are covered in moss or big clumps of ferns that they can nestle inside. They forage in the shrub layer, so you'll often see them kind of flitting about in the branches, gleaning insects off of leaves and branches. And then they also use the canopy. They'll use snags in the canopy as song perches, so the males will sit up and sing, trying to attract a female. And another kind of interesting thing about Canada warblers is that they nest in what we call neighborhoods. So if you've got one pair of Canada warbler nesting, there'll often be a couple of pairs around. So there's a neighborhood of them in one area. Species at risk matter because we don't fully understand, I think, the roles every species play in ecosystems. So, things are so interconnected that when you take things out of an ecosystem, plants, animals, lichens, birds, we don't really know what the unintended consequences could be of that. So, it's just important that we safeguard biodiversity and protect species at risk. The other reason is that species at risk, those sensitive species are often indicators of something that's happening in an ecosystem. So they're kind of the alarm bells that ring first when something's going wrong in an ecosystem. I think some of the first things we could do is learn how to identify rare species and their habitat, so that when you're out in the forest or on your own property, perhaps you can, when you see something, you can recognize it. And particularly if you're a landowner, you can recognize their habitat so that you can maybe look up some best management practices to benefit that species or enhance the habitat that you've got. Landowners can also reach out to PEI Fish and Wildlife, and we can help you understand who may be using your property and share some of those best management practices that you could implement on your property as well. There's also, if folks are interested, there's ways to protect property through the Natural Areas Protection Act. And that's a really great tool if you'd like to see your forest or habitat that you've got persist through time.